Hello. The purpose of this video is to take a look at the CCHA standings and try to make sense of them. I'm looking at these standings now on February 1st, 2023. These standings are from the CCHA.com website. I like the website. There's a lot of cool information and things there. However, these standings are a little difficult to understand. It's tricky to figure out what all these numbers mean and where they come from, and how these point totals are calculated. Now, the CCHA does give us some information at the bottom here. Teams are awarded 3 points for each conference win in regulation, 2 points for an overtime or shootout win, and 1 point for an overtime or shootout loss. Overtime wins and losses appear in both the W and L columns, as well as the OTW and OTL columns. So I've been scratching my head and trying to figure this out for a while. It's been pretty frustrating, but I think I finally nailed it down, and in this video, I'm going to take you through it. So let's start with the basics. This will only take a second. The CCHA is the Central Collegiate Hockey Association, and this year in the CCHA, there are 8 teams. The Bemidji State Beavers, Bowling Green State Falcons, Ferris State Bulldogs, Lake Superior State Lakers. Then there's my favorite team, the Michigan Tech Huskies. Go Huskies. Minnesota State Mavericks, Northern Michigan Wildcats, and finally the St. Thomas Tommies. When 2 teams compete in a conference game, they play 3 20-minute periods. If the teams are not tied after the 3 periods, the game is over, and there is a clear winner and loser. If the teams are tied after 3 periods, they play a 5-minute period of 3-on-3 sudden death overtime. If a team scores a goal during the 3-on-3, then the game ends immediately. If neither team scores during the 5-minute 3-on-3, the CCHA describes the game as a tie, but the teams then compete in a shootout. The shootout continues until there is a winner. So if you're watching your favorite team play a CCHA conference game, there are 6 possible outcomes of how that game could end for your favorite team. You could have a regulation win, and in that case, you are awarded 3 points in the standings. A regulation loss results in 0 points. 3-on-3 win results in 2 points. 3-on-3 loss results in 1 point. A shootout win results in 2 points, and a shootout loss results in 1 point. So once again, here are the standings, and here is a little bit about why I have been confused lately. Just as an example, if you look at the team that's currently in first place, the Minnesota State Mavericks, their win-loss tie record is 13-6-1. That adds up to 20. Then they have a overtime win, overtime loss record of 2-2. Then they have a SW of 1. That would be shootout wins. If you add up all those numbers, that adds up to 25, but yet the games played equals 20. So there are some games being double counted. And the clue at the bottom of the screen that says that wins in overtime and losses in overtimes are counted in 2 places. That is an indication that, yes, some games are going to be double counted in certain circumstances. But as I promised, we're going to break this down. So here is the CCHA scheme to updating the standings after a game. And I would like it if the CCHA posted this information on their website. I believe it would make their standings easier to figure out. So, if your team has a regulation win, then CCHA will add 1 to the W column in the standings. A regulation loss means 1 will be added to the loss column. Now, here's where it gets tricky. If there's a 3-on-3 win, the CCHA adds 1 to the W column and the OW column. So that would result in a double counting of that game. 3-on-3 loss. CCHA adds 1 to the L column and the OL column. Shootout win. CCHA adds 1 to the T column, T for tie, and the SW column, SW for shootout win. And if there's a shootout loss, CCHA adds 1 to the T column. Now we're going to take a look at this spreadsheet. On the left here, I have duplicated exactly what you see on the CCHA website as of today, February 1st, 2023. So that is in columns A through I on this spreadsheet. What we're going to do in columns K through R is break down all that information, and so we can determine the exact number of games in all 6 of the categories we saw earlier. Once again, those categories are regulation wins, regulation losses, 3-on-3 wins, 3-on-3 losses, shootout wins, and shootout losses. Here we go. In column L right here, we're going to find regulation wins by subtracting column G from column D. In other words, we're going to take the CCHA-W column and subtract the CCHA-OW column. So we're taking all the games that the CCHA is defining as wins, and we're subtracting off the overtime wins. So for example, we just calculated that Minnesota State has 13 minus 2, which equals 11 regulation wins. Now let's move on to column M, which will be our regulation losses. That is a very similar calculation. We're going to start with column E, CCHA loss column, and subtract off column H, the CCHA overtime losses column. So Minnesota State, as an example, they have 6 losses. Subtract off the 2 overtime losses, and now they have 4 regulation losses. Now column N is easy, 3-on-3 wins. The CCHA is putting all of them in the overtime win column. So we're just copying column G right there. Column O, 3-on-3 losses. This is also easy. We're just going to copy column H, the CCHA overtime loss column. Column P, shootout wins. Another easy one. This just equals column I, the CCHA shootout wins. Now it gets tricky again. In our column Q, we want to calculate shootout losses. Well, that is going to equal column F minus column I. It's going to be games that the CCHA is labeling as ties, and then we're subtracting off shootout wins. In this case, Minnesota State has 0 of them. Now, in order to check our work, what we want to do next is add up these 6 numbers, because now that we have separated all of these games into exactly one category, if we add up these 6 numbers in column L through Q, that should add up to the total number of games Minnesota State has played so far, which is 20. Let's check it out. Very good. Now let's calculate how many points Minnesota State has right now. We're going to do this in column K. And down here at the bottom, I'm reminding myself how many points are awarded a team in the standings for each of these 6 types of results. So what we would like to do is 3 times number of regulation wins plus 0 times regulation losses plus 2 times 3-on-3 wins plus 1 times 3-on-3 losses plus 2 times shootout wins plus 1 times shootout losses. That adds up to 41 points, and sure enough, that matches the CCHA points column. So let's copy and paste this into the remainder of the standings, and hopefully things will match up. Let's check out the points column. Are things matching up? Yes. 41 points for Minnesota State, 38 for Michigan Tech, 37 for Bowling Green, 31 for Bemidji, 25 for Ferris, 21 for Northern, 21 for St. Thomas, and 14 for Lake State. Do the games played columns match up? Yes. So now I'm pretty confident that we have deciphered the strange way that the CCHA displays their standings, and now we can see exactly how many games went into all 6 of those categories for your particular team. Now, once again, my favorite team is the Michigan Tech Huskies. Let's check out a more informative display of their record so far this year. So in regulation, it looks like they have 11 wins and 4 losses. So of the 15 games that Michigan Tech has played that did not go into overtime, their record is 11 and 4. They have exactly 1 game that ended in a 3-on-3 overtime, and they lost that game. As you can see right here, their record in 3-on-3 play is 0-1. And finally, they are 0-4 in shootouts, which is quite annoying, but I'm sure that's going to improve very soon. So that's about it. If anyone from the CCHA is watching, I feel that this representation of the standings would be better. I feel it would be more informative, and it would be easier to figure out what's happening. So thanks for watching, and go Huskies!